"Hello, Laurie," he says, his voice strangely calm but with a creepy undertone. "I guess it's a real mess, isn't it? It wasn't supposed to happen that way." I don't know what to say. The words hang in the air like a dark cloud, heavy with meaning and doom. The date is August 13, 1996, and we find ourselves in Mobile, Alabama. Gary Simmons, a guy whose name will soon be linked to terror, walks into an electronics store. The time is mid-afternoon, and the store is packed with customers and employees, yet no one has any notion of the truth. Gary is a fugitive, a killer on the loose. He tapes himself with confidence, as if he doesn't know that people are watching him. "I never think about what will happen after I do something until after I've done it," he says, his face eerily calm. "But that's what happens when you go too far. You have to pay for it." With a resigned tone, he adds, "I guess it's time. I love you." On that same fatal day, just 35 miles away in Moss Point, Mississippi, the story takes a horrific turn. Missing for days, 18-year-old Brook Weber is found alive outside the house. She is in a state of terror, frenzy engulfing her as she shouts, "They shot him, they shot him." Her comments resonate in the ears of the responding officers as they race to investigate. Upon entering the house, the officers find nothing but a terrifying silence. The sole indication to the catastrophe that unfolded within is a human-sized box, menacing and gloomy. As the officers explore the premises, they make their way to the bayou behind the house, where they unearth a horrifying scene: 88 pieces of human remains, establishing this as one of the most brutal crimes in Mississippi's history. This dark mystery will stay unresolved until Brooke, the girl who escaped, returns to recover her narrative and disclose the truth. She will long be known as the girl in the butcher's box. The year is 1996, and we transfer our emphasis to Houston, Texas. Here, 21-year-old Jeffrey Wolfe is living a seemingly idyllic life with his father, Pascal. "He was just a good kid," Pascal recalls lovingly. "He loved dogs, he loved football, he loved motorcycles. He was an all-American man, you know, he truly was." On August 11th, Jeffrey arrives home with a surprise: a new girlfriend he is anxious to introduce to his father. "I was sitting at home when they drove up," Pascal recounts. He introduced her, saying, "Dad, this is my new girlfriend, Brooke." She was a gorgeous young girl. Though Jeffrey and Brooke have only known each other for a handful of weeks, it's apparent to Pascal that his son is infatuated. The pair has even scheduled a vacation together, with intentions to drive to Mississippi the next day. On August 12th, Jeffrey wakes early, excited to pick up Brooke. "He hugged and kissed me goodbye," Pascal recalls, "and that was the last time I heard from him." That next morning, August 13th, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department receives a distressing 911 call. The caller reports a young woman who is furiously hammering on their front door, wielding a butcher knife and begging for aid. When the police come, they find Brooke in a state of shock, unable to articulate what has happened. All she can manage to repeat is, "They shot him, they shot him." When Brooke gestures to the house across the street, the officers hurriedly make their way over, only to discover the house empty. It is spotless, displaying no traces of fight, no blood, and nothing out of the ordinary, except for the presence of that foreboding box. As Brooke is escorted to the sheriff's department, officers continue to search the property, seeking to locate any indication of the man she alleges was shot. But something feels amiss. The house is situated at the edge of the bayou, and in a neighboring boat, they uncover drops of blood, indications of a darker reality. Could the killer have disposed of a body in the river? Not far from the dock, an officer stumbles across an axe, its blade covered with blood. Gary Simmons, the man accused of the murder, is nowhere to be located. For now, Brooke stands as the lone witness capable of putting light on the awful events that happened behind those four walls. Her story begins on the morning of August 12, 1996, we hear. Brooke recalls, "Back in 1996, I was 18 years old. Jeff and I had just met. We were still in the honeymoon phase of our relationship, where everything was perfect. He was pretty pleasant, real charming and sweet and cute. The pair starts on a 6-hour road journey to Mississippi, aiming to collect some money. Upon their arrival at Gary's house, the sun has already set, throwing an eerie shadow over the surroundings. I could tell something wasn't right, Brook reflects. It was dark, and we pull up, and there's not a porch light on. I thought, why doesn't he have the porch light on? He knows we're coming. Gary Simmons meets them, sitting on the stairs and oozing a weird atmosphere that sets off alarm bells in Brook's thoughts. Yet, out of respect for Jeffrey, she ignores her intuition. I wish I would have asked questions that day, she acknowledges. As the case proceeds, the police piece together the horrible truth. Gary Simmons and Timothy Milano are responsible for Jeffrey's death and Brook's abduction. Brook's evidence becomes important, but even from behind bars, Gary presents a threat. I was the only living witness, Brook says, horror imprinted on her face. On August 25, 1997, the trial begins. Brook takes the stand, shaking but determined to guarantee that Jeffrey's death is not in vain. I was so scared my whole body was shaking, she admits, but the support from Jeffrey's parents bolsters her determination. I couldn't let them get away with it, she proclaims. After days of deliberation, the jury returns with a verdict, guilty on all counts for Gary Simmons and Timothy Milano. Gary receives a death sentence, and while Brook feels a sense of justice, her anxiety endures. If he could put a hit on me from prison, he would do it again, she reflects, her worry apparent. She alters her identity and looks, desperate to escape the ghosts of her past. The years pass, and when the calendar turns to 2023, Brook finds herself coping with the lingering anguish. Now a mother, she yearns to go forward and regain her life. An unexpected opportunity emerges when she discovers that Laurie wishes to meet her. I'm tired of running, tired of being afraid, Brook says. I want my power back. When they eventually meet, the emotional weight of their shared history weighs in the air. Hi, I'm Brook, she says, her voice trembling. Can I hug you? Sure, Laurie answers, tears in her eyes. You are my hero. Brook is taken aback, but as they tell their memories, both ladies find solace in each other's company. I've never looked at it that way, Brook reflects. You kind of make it okay now. In that moment, they both understand the courage it takes to survive, and for Brook, the journey toward recovery has only just begun. I'm Brook Weber, period, she concludes. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor of a violent crime, and we're gonna make it through it. However, the journey doesn't finish there. The impact of such trauma lurks in the shadows, waiting to be acknowledged. Brook's life has altered, but the wounds of her experience linger. She finds herself regularly pondering on her history, attempting to absorb the experiences that shaped her into the person she is now. As she adjusts to her new life, she learns to embrace her role as a survivor. This transition is not quick. It is a lengthy process that requires enormous strength. Brook becomes an advocate for those who have endured similar traumas, telling her story in the hopes that it may inspire and empower. I want to help others find their voices, she announces during a public speaking engagement. Her remarks hit powerfully with the audience, many of whom have endured their own sorts of trauma. Brook's narrative becomes a beacon of hope, blazing the route for others still caught in darkness. At home, Brook strives to maintain a feeling of normalcy for her family. She engages in things that provide joy and laughter, building memories that will overwhelm the dark shadows of her past. Yet, there are instances when the weight of her experience feels almost overwhelming. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, she confides in a close friend. The nightmares still come, but I remind myself that I am safe now. These chats become crucial for Brook, allowing her to process her feelings and worries in a helpful environment. As time goes on, Brook's friendship with Laurie deepens. They share not only their stories but also their goals and aspirations. Laurie, too, has been on a path of healing, struggling with the effects of her prior marriage to Gary. During their meetings, they typically address the need of ending the cycle of violence and ensuring that their children grow up in a world free from fear. I want to teach my kids about strength and resilience, Laurie adds, her eyes full with resolve. The two women become allies in their campaigning, working together to raise awareness about domestic abuse and the significance of support systems for survivors. They host workshops and community events, sharing their stories and teaching others on spotting the indications of abuse. Once inside, Gary offers them drinks and the environment seems convivial, but Brooke remains detached, allowing the chat about business to evolve without her input. I thought they were just gonna have a discussion and then it would be done, she recounts. Suddenly, the sound of gunfire shatters the serenity. In a terrible moment, Brooke sees Jeffrey shot through the chest, his blood splattering over the floor. She is transfixed in dread when a young man brandishing a gun appears, and hysteria follows. I was like, oh, fucked, I'm gonna die, she recounts. Gary seizes her in a bear hug and carries her into another room, where he hog ties her, gags her, and locks her within the chili box. It was the scariest moment of my life, Brooke recalls. I didn't know what they were going to do to me. Gary exposes the awful truth. Her existence depends on how effectively she performs sexually. He then assaults her and returns her to the box, leaving her in darkness with her own racing thoughts. I didn't think I was getting out of that box, she reveals. On August 14, 24 hours after Brooke's kidnapping, a woman called Lori receives a strange box at her office. Inside is a VHS film featuring Gary, who addresses her with a calm yet unsettling approach. Hello, Lori. I guess it's a real mess, isn't it? It wasn't intended to go like that. I don't know what to tell you. The truth behind the audio is chilling. Lori Simmons is Gary's wife, and her life has been a nightmare since their marriage began. The house still creeps me out, she says. And I have not set foot in there in like 27 years. Lori's narrative begins on August 11, 1990, almost 6 years before. She meets Gary shortly after her first divorce, a man who initially seems attractive and clever. On our wedding day, we moved into this house together, ***, she recalls. Gary had told me early on in our relationship that he loved to write short stories. At first, Lori regards Gary's writing as an adorable eccentricity, but her curiosity leads her to discover the alarming content of his stories. Every single story was about a woman taken captive as a sex slave, she remembers. I told him, that's not pleasure, that's torture. He said, well, these are my fantasies. Despite her uneasiness, Lori tries to disregard her suspicions, but the darker side of Gary emerges following the birth of their first daughter. After my daughter was born, when he would want to be intimate, I told him no, that it was too soon, she recalls, but he said, that's not gonna happen. That evening, Gary forces himself on her, marking the beginning of a nightmare that Lori never envisioned. That was the very first time Gary ran me, she confesses, the memories still raw and agonizing. As Lori grapples with the tragedy of her marriage, she discovers one of Gary's fables about a box made for a person. I see he's got this huge box, she recalls. I heard banging and noise, and I was terrified. One day, Lori confronts Gary about his worrisome tendencies, but his calm approach rapidly flips. He chokes her till she passes out, and when she regains consciousness, she finds herself shackled to the bed. I asked him, let me go, please untie me, she pleads, but he simply teases her, indicating his determination to inflict greater misery. Lori's attempts to get support from the police fall flat. They tell her there is insufficient evidence to indict Gary. There was no way for me to prove anything that happened, she laments. Though she tries to pursue a divorce, she finds she must take a pregnancy test, and the news sends her plunging further into misery. I wanted this to be over, she recounts, but I was trapped. With the support of domestic abuse organizations, Lori eventually finds an apartment away from Gary. Yet, the shadow of her husband hangs big. In the summer of 1996, her brother Timothy moved in to help her with her children. One night, he leaves to speak with Gary, and hours pass without him returning. I called Gary's house, she explains, the concern coming into her voice. But the phone just rang and rang. Unbeknownst to her, at that same time, Brooke is still imprisoned in the box, tired and desperate. As Lori calls, Brooke wakes up and understands this is her chance to leave. She manages to release herself from her shackles and, with all her effort, forces open the lid of the box. The house is oddly quiet, yet she takes a butcher knife left on the table, ready to protect herself. If they were coming in when I was going out, I was gonna gut period, she vows, determined to survive. Brook flees out of the house just as Gary returns, but instead of searching for her, he drives away, leaving her finally free. Brook goes to a neighbor's house, where she receives aid. As the police come, she begins to piece together the awful reality about Jeffrey's death. I overheard them talking about finding body parts in the bayou, she says, the weight of the discovery hitting in. Meanwhile, Timothy returns home, apparently frightened. He had to help him because he threatened you and the girls, he admits, and Laurie's heart falls as she learns the severity of the treachery. Timothy is arrested for shooting Jeffrey, and the news devastates both Laurie and Pascal. The seriousness of what has transpired leaves Pascal in astonishment, feeling that he has failed to safeguard his kid. I was sick in my stomach, he remembers, fury and grief flooding his voice. I thought I'd done the boy a favor by letting him stay with us. We need to create a safe space for those who are suffering in silence, Brook emphasizes during a session. No one should feel alone in their struggles. As they continue their labor, Brook finds solace in assisting others. Each story shared, each person touched, confirms her belief in the power of resilience and the need of communal support. She recognizes that while her history will always be a part of her, it does not define her. I am not just a survivor, she announces at the close of a community event. I am a warrior, and every day, I choose to fight for myself and for those who cannot fight for themselves. Laurie nods in agreement, her delight in Brook clear. The two women's journey together becomes a remarkable monument to the resilience of the human spirit, revealing that healing is possible even in the face of unspeakable grief. As Brook moves on, she finds herself reflecting on her journey, the resilience she has built, and the friendships she has forged along the way. She recognizes that healing is not a linear path but rather a twisting one filled with ups and downs, wins and failures. The years pass, and when the calendar turns to 2023, Brook finds herself coping with the lingering anguish. Now a mother, she yearns to go forward and regain her life. An unexpected opportunity emerges when she discovers that Laurie wishes to meet her. I'm tired of running, tired of being afraid, Brook says. I want my power back. When they eventually meet, the emotional weight of their shared history weighs in the air. Hi, I'm Brook, she adds, her voice quivering. Can I hug you? Sure, Laurie says, tears in her eyes. You are my hero. Brook is taken aback, but as they tell their memories, both ladies find solace in each other's company. I've never looked at it that way, Brook reflects. You kind of make it okay now. In that moment, they both understand the courage it takes to survive, and for Brook, the journey toward recovery has only just begun. I am Brook Weber, she says. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor of a violent crime, and we're gonna make it through it. If you were moved by Brook's tale, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and switch on notifications so you never miss another inspiring story. Survivors like Brook and Laurie show us that even at the worst moments, there is hope, strength, and healing. If you or someone you know is facing abuse or trauma, know that you're not alone. Help is available, and recovery is possible. Drop a remark below if you wish to share your opinions or help others in the community. Your words could make a difference. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay strong, and we'll see you in the next video.